All right, y'all. Today we have a 40K game summary with the World Eaters against the Starshatter Arsenal. All right, so if you're wondering how World Eaters match up against Starshatter, this video is going to be for you. You're going to want to stick around because we are going to just do a highlight of the game, a condensed version of the game, what happened, what we learned, and hopefully you can get some value out of it. I am a Necron player primarily and probably played 200 plus games of 10th edition now, so definitely have a wealth of knowledge about this game, and I absolutely love it through and through. So I'm just kind of packaging my takes on this matchup and passing it on to you. And hopefully you get some value out of it, whether you're a Necron player or not. I think that's the biggest thing, because if one of us gets better, then we all get better. So let's get into it. So today we are playing Take and Hold and Tipping Point, all right? And playing against my buddy Joel. He is a very good opponent. He has, I believe, won multiple GTs in the past. I know he's won at least one. But I know he is a very good player. He's starting to get back more into 10th, so super excited about that. And he literally lives like right down the street from my house, so it's perfect. So let's get into this match here. I also wanted to make this a little bit bigger for you all, and I'm also going to be doing a little slight upgrade to the visuals, at least quality-wise, so be looking out for that. But let's get into this game here. So it was a very close one. And came down to the end, which is what you want to see. So Joel's going to get first turn. World Eaters like going first, and that's what he's going to do. So we have more or less in our deployment here. We have flayed ones right here. There wasn't really a spot to deploy them effectively 9 inches away here to keep them off this center point. But the biggest thing that we're trying to create in this World Eaters matchup is a wall of trash, similar to that Blood Angels video I had last week. I'll go ahead and link that at the end of this report. But we're essentially similar type of style. We want to keep all of our stuff way back and kind of screening out this section here, right? So he's going to get first turn, and he just doing some, classic pre-measuring here. He's going to move up more or less his turn. He's going to get extend battle lines and recover assets, so a good first turn pull for him. So he is going to extend battle lines easy with Lord of Avocatus down here. And then he's going to charge in the Jackals right here. Okay, so Jackals come in. They actually don't clean up the flayed ones. He did not roll well, which was a shocker. So the flayed ones end up surviving with, I think 2 guys left, which was huge. And of course, he stays off the point here because you don't want to give up overwhelming force and storm hostile that first turn. And yeah, he just passes it over to me. So more or less, as you'd expect with the World Eaters, staging up, staging up, staging up. He's got these berserkers back here that are all OC2, so he's got like a nice little wall. It's hard to dig them out, and plays it well. So going into my turn 1, we're going to bring it down and sabotage. Not ideal the first turn. I would have loved to draw that turn 2 or turn 3 because Angron's, a nice 4 points. You got a Rhino here. So I know bring it down is it's going to be an auto cycle first turn is what it is. But at least we got something that we can score, which is going to be sabotage. So all that's going to look like is basically, a hex mark moving up here and just sabotaging one of these points. Okay. And I will say this is the new list with the spider. So the Scorpec Lord is a proxy as of right now. So if you're wondering why the heck is a Scorpec Lord running around, it's a spider just because they're on the same size 60 mil base. And then same thing over here. There's a couple proxies, but this is the Locust, 6 Locust brick with the Locust Destroyer. Okay. So this is what our turn looks like. So more or less just shifting up assets here. As we talked about, Silent King's the anchor piece. We're going to move up the Stalker. This placement is all very intentional because essentially what we're doing is it's very hard to prevent World Eaters from just hitting you, right? But what you're trying to do is limit how much surface area some of those models can hit. So by keeping the Silent King away from the wall, you're essentially eliminating this as a place that they could hit. So essentially, if he charges in, basically the only thing that he can really connect with is this Reanimator and the stalker, because you've essentially created this little wall, right? Which is I'm completely content with, because the biggest thing is you're really wanting him to bring out some of those big resources so you can take advantage on the clapback in return, all right? Flayed ones reanimated back to full, and they just fall back here just to reestablish that screen, and then we're just going to shoot these guys off the objective. So we move a Locust Destroyer here, and then we indirect them, and then that was enough to just kill this unit right here. We move up the Stalker, which I will talk about was one of, not I want to say like a huge error, but it was a pretty decent error that I'll talk about going into turn 2. All right, so turn 2, he's going to get a 10 on primary right here and right here. And he's going to get Defend Stronghold and Engage on all fronts. So not a bad pull for him this turn because he's really wanting to establish more board presence. So it's going to be pretty easy for him to get big Engage. He's already got the, the Jackals are actually dead. But, Invocatus can move over here. Rhino can move over here. So he's in a good spot and defend. I'm not taking that objective. Starshatter doesn't do that. It's not good at, like, taking your opponent's home field, and it's, primary denial is rough. I mean, it's definitely the weaknesses of this detachment for sure. So going into his turn, fast forward here, kind of see what this looks like. So I think that's pretty much okay. So we'll stop right here. So he shifts up. He's going to get engaged on all fronts for 4. Invocatus comes up here because he's going to clean up these flayed ones. The Rhino is going to shift over here because he's trying to deny a rapid ingress threat, which was super smart. I was like, hey, you might want to put something over here because otherwise this arc is probably going to drop right there. So he swung over the Rhino, which I think was probably a smarter play, kind of move blocks this in. Granted, I can spin a CP with the Stalker and just go through him because it's moving through walls and enemy models. So keep that in mind, which is kind of nice. And here is where the big error of the game goes in. So he's going to send Angron actually this way rather than this way, okay? Because this is going to be harder for me to interact with over here because I have all my anti-tank and stuff over here. So Angron charges in, Exalted charge in, clean up this Stalker, okay? This was the biggest error because of the fact that we ingress in this Doomsday Arc, but because, I'm going to zoom in on this, because I put the Stalker here, Angron's able to drop right here. So he can stay behind this wall and I can't see him. Because if I put the Stalker just like 2 inches this way behind, then when he charges in, Angron has to toe into that footprint. And then now all of these units have line of sight right here, which would have been huge. But unfortunately, I did not do that. So it allowed Angron to hide for an entire turn, which is not good. Not good. So you essentially have Angron right here, which I really don't have any good way to interact with because there's not really any good firing lines. And this is going into my bottom of turn 2. So we're going to get Recover Assets, Engage in all fronts, which we cycle because I really didn't have a good way of doing that. And we're going to get Secure No Man's Land. Okay. So going into my turn, I really can't take care of Angron. So what we're going to do is we are going to secure No Man's Land with the Tomb Blades, and then we're going to secure No Man's Land with the King. And then we are going to bring it down for 2 points because we're going to pop the Rhino. Let me make sure here. And this is basically the end of my turn. So he didn't really give much for me to shoot at. The Doomsday Arc, again, I talk about in another video, like completely whiffed. Granted, I didn't have it next to the King, so that is kind of on me as well. But I figured with the Ingress, it's hitting on 2s. But it just, I rolled like an average number of shots. I just don't think I hit well or wounded well, but it was like 2s and 2s. I just rolled a lot of 1s. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So Exalted end up living, which was a big problem. I was like, man, this is just not going to be good. But this is good for competitive play because the things are always like, there are always things in games that aren't going to go right. Just don't get flustered. Stay the course. There's always a way you can probably like pull it out here. So that's pretty much my turn. I'm just going to keep this in a good spot because this is position. I can't really break this point just because he has enough assets here, I think, to potentially kill the King. So we're just going to keep this stuff here and pass it over to him. So turn 3, he's going to get a 10 on primary again. and he's going to bring it down and behind enemy lines, which is a really good pull for him this turn because he could potentially go after the king, and he can for sure go after the Doomsday Ark. So there is an option he could get 8 points on here and getting behind enemy lines, right? So more or less, we luck out, and Angron is going to obviously charge in to the Doomsday Ark. And we actually, on an Overwatch, are able to, with the Hexmark and the Doomsday Ark, kill the Exalted 8-Bound, which was huge. So thank you. Thank you, Doomsday Ark, man. You came back. You came back, man. So we got 1/6 through, killed one Exalted, and then the Hexmark killed the other, which was crazy. So that was nice. So he couldn't interact with Imhotep. He just had Angron. So Angron comes in. And this is the spiciness of this detachment is I give the -1 to wound strat on the Doomsday Ark, and Angron on the charge does not kill him. Crazy. So Angron bounces, and it goes into my turn. Okay, so we're going into bottom of 3. I am only going to get a 5 on primary this turn because these Tomb Blades are dead. He uses... the Exalted 8-Bound. Let me actually fast forward here so you guys get a better play. Okay, so a couple things that are happening here. So he brings up some more of his cheap stuff, right? So he brings up 3 Exalted 8-Bound, 3 Exalted. He's not giving me these bricks yet. He's keeping them back, and this is the Berserks with the fight first, okay? So he moves this in. He's killing some trash. He holds these points, and this is essentially the board state going into my bottom of 3. Now, a couple things that happened during this turn is I did ingress this unit in, mainly because I can use this unit in conjunction with the Tomb Blades on this next turn because he only has 6 OC on this objective to essentially move on to this objective, deny it by bringing in the Tomb Blades, which you're going to see here. So we ingress them in. Going into turn 2. Okay, so bottom of 3, extend battle lines, overwhelming force. Perfect pull for me this turn. We're going to get a 5 on primary. We get extend battle lines already because the king is on there, and then we just need to kill stuff that's on objectives, which is this unit and Angron. Okay, so shift this unit over, this unit here, and we move the king out here, because we essentially need all of these resources to attack this unit. I know that he can spend 1 CP to sticky it, which it is what it is, I think, in this case, but I need to get basically these assets off the table. So we're going to use this package to shoot here. The king is going to charge in and more or less clean up this unit. And then it does give me options where this unit can fire here. And then we are going to bring in the Tomb Blades, which you don't see in this picture, but they go, that's the fast forward, but the Tomb Blades basically go right here and then to fire and fade on this objective because they shoot at this unit. Again, I love the Tomb Blades in this detachment. There's so many cool little tricks you can do. And you guys are seeing it here firsthand where basically combining these 2 units together, we get a give him a 5 on primary. And seeing how close this game is, it's those little things against really good players that can add up and create that differential for creating a win from a loss, okay? So this unit absolutely just pops off. 18 shots at Angron, full rerolls because they're on the point, hitting on 2s, lethals on 5s and 6s. I think I get like 14 wounds through, and he just does not roll well. I think like he only made like 3 or 4 saves, and then it was just like an auto like 10 damage to Angron. He didn't make like any feel no pains and just popped him. Like it was crazy. Just that unit alone, I think Angron already had like 2 or 3 wounds on him, and then that unit alone just popped him, which was like crazy. So Angron's gone. So we got 1 overwhelming force out the way. These Tomb Blades here, so you can see here we have 10 OC on this objective. And then now we're essentially whittling down those resources. So at the end of 3, it looked exactly as more or less expected. Angron's dead. Exalted 8-Bound is dead, and he is pretty much out of assets at this point, but it's still a relatively close game. But all he has left is this unit, the Berserks, and the Spawn. Okay, so going into turn 4, he's going to get still another 10 on primary because he stickied this objective. So he has this one and this one, even though we denied him here. And then he's going to get area denial, or excuse me, sorry, secure no man's land, and he gets area denial but cycles it and then gets cleanse. So not the best pull this turn, but doable. So he's going to be able to secure this one and this one. And basically what happens is he needs to send this resource out to try to interact with the king. And this is just going to show you the power of the king here. It is just gross. So in hindsight, what he realized, which I think was the smarter play, and this is just learning opportunities here, is those berserks should have just charged the Triarch Stalker, and then he would have guaranteed denied the point here and then saved me from getting like a 5 or a 5 on that turn instead of 10. But he did a dual charge thinking that he could do more damage to the king, but he literally just bounces, and the king is the perfect profile into this unit because he's AP3 damage too, so you're putting them on their invul and they're just killing him outright. So I think he picked up like 8 of these guys by himself. I mean, you see the board state here essentially. This is me like before like moving it here, but that was basically the turn. So going into my turn 4, we're going to get a 10 on primary, and we have area denial and established locus. So we're going to control 10 here. The king and the stalker move up here. So the stalker can move up 8 to establish locus, and then we advance up the king to get area denial and just say, hey, turn 4, deal with them because we're in a good spot. And then that's pretty much the turn here. And then finishing things up here, this is pretty much more or less kind of talking it out from here. So going into turn 5, he's going to get a 10 on primary again. Unfortunately, he's not able to get anything on overwhelming force and no prisoners for that turn. That is a really good thing to be cognizant of if you're going second, because you have on a lot of the missions, it's bottom of turn primary scoring. A good habit to get into is having things off the point if they haven't drawn Storm Hostile or Overwhelming Force yet, especially because then you can just deny them those points, and then at the end of the game you just get on the objectives that you're going to be on anyway, and then you score the primary. Okay, so other than the king obviously, but with taking stuff off this point, and I love how I'm talking about that, but that was a learning opportunity for me as I kept these 2 things off the point, which it did open up the door for him to get a 11-inch charge, which he got from the freaking Chaos Spawn onto the Hexmark, and ends up not killing the Hexmark. He did not roll well enough, and so he does not get Overwhelming Force and no prisoners, and then that was the game. We basically we get a 15 on primary at the end, defend Stronghold, and no prisoners, and that is the game. So we defend here, and then kill these like 2 units or whatever it was, and then these 2 units here, and then that was the game. So all in all, I think it's a very winnable game with this matchup. I think the biggest thing that you need to be cognizant of against World Eaters and how to play this is similar with the Blood Angels game, which I'm going to link here in a second, is you just want to have a lot of your cheap stuff up front and all of your valuable stuff that you really need to connect later, the unit of Scorpex, the destroyers, all this stuff needs to be in the back, and because at the end of the day, World Eaters, they don't have a ton of trading pieces, and you need to force their big units to come out to interact with them. So all in all, this was an excellent match. I'm sure Joel and I will run it back again to get more practice into more of like an aggro melee type list. But yeah, other than that, again, I'm going to go ahead and link the list breakdown to this video over here, and also the link to the Blood Angels game as well. Go check those out. But appreciate you watching, and until the next one, peace.